This programme is the Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli.
The Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli makes its second visit of the 2019 season to the beautiful Donington Park circuit in Leicestershire. This is the final round of what has been a thrilling 2019 campaign, and it's Simon Clark who leads the points arriving here at the final two races. However, he's not going to have things all his own way. The competition in Class 1 has been intense right from the start of the season, but it's actually a Class 2 competitor, Ross Morris, who is his nearest rival, possibly less than 10 points between them with just 2 races to go. This should be a good one. Simon Clark, championship leader, arriving here at the final round of the season, and what a season it's been. It's all come down to the last few rounds and it's very, very tight.
Yeah, it is really tight. I've had a pretty consistent season, touch wood, and so but yeah, it would have been nice to have got it sewn up sooner and to have maybe not quite had the same stress for today, but makes it more interesting for everyone else to watch, obviously.
Well, we're with Ross Morris now, who has one hand already on the Class 2 championship title after Alton Park last time out, but your eyes very much are set on the overall crown, aren't they, this weekend?
Well, yeah, I should be happy with Class 2, but when you get a sniff of the overall title, you tend to get a bit greedy. So I've got greed in me at the minute, so I'm going to try and do my best and, you know, hope that the other boys in my team can out-qualify Clark and beat him in the race. Always
an exciting time of the year, isn't it? For you, an outside bet of the championship, how much is that where your focus is this weekend?
It's all to play for because Mr Clark has a DNF, me and Chris can win it. If he comes 5th, 6th or 7th, my son Ross can win it in Class 2, so it's all to play for. And the best I can do if Mr Clark won, I can get 3rd overall and 2nd in Class 1. But I want to win, like so. So the pressure's on for Mr Clark, really.
Pole sitter for our first race today, and you only just missed out on a double pole as well. It's been a promising start to the day.
Great start to the day. It was a very interesting quali. We've had plenty of them this year. Nothing's been entirely straightforward. Able to get on it fairly quickly and nailed a couple of decent times. And then for various reasons, I think the tyre pressures went up. There was a bit of fluid down somewhere, so the car was getting a bit leery then. But now we know that, we'll try and adjust that for the race. So very happy with that, thanks.
But Carl, you're a familiar face in the paddock, having done a season in the Resto Racing Championship this year. Are you hoping A, to use this maybe as a springboard for next year to come and join the championship full time, and B, maybe to bring some others with you?
Yeah, well, it's possible. Just seeing how it goes on the slicks. I enjoy the slicks. The car feels really good on slicks. But there's 2 of us. There's Julian Morris as well, who's stepped up as well. So we just thought we'd have a go for this last race and see how it goes.
How have you enjoyed your season then up in Class 1 this season? The racing has been incredibly tight and you've been in the thick of all of the action, it seems.
Yeah, it's been really tight, but I've just had a lot of bad luck, to be honest. I think you'd always like to do better. I feel at some places I had the pace to do better, but that's about it. But big thanks to Dave at Car Taking Care, and Ash and Carl have come and helped out because they've really done a good job for us this year.
Your dad's not out this weekend either, so all of the family hopes are on your shoulders.
Yeah, it's a very weird experience for me actually, because I've never started a race weekend without him in my career. So it's a bit sad because we do enjoy going out together. We're normally quicker when we go out together because we push each other on. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to go out there, get a good result for the team, and do him proud.
Best of luck, mate.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Race number 1 about to get underway here at a blustery and overcast Donington Park. There are a few spots of rain in the air, just to add an extra bit of spice to the mix. Mike Price on pole position, Simon Clark's towards the front as well, whilst his big rival Ross Morris is only 4th on the grid in his class. He'll need to improve on that to keep his title hopes alive. Richard, it's over to you to talk us through this.
Andy, thanks mate. Mike Price on pole, Pete Morris alongside, Simon Clark and Jake McAleer comprising row 2, then Chris Dyer and Craig Wilkins, Kevin Harrison and Andy Toon wrapping up the top 8. James Cayley is next from James Coleman, the Class 2 pole position man. Toby Barlow ahead of Kevin Molyneux and Del Brett, then Ross Morris, Paul Seagrave with Max Wolstenholme, Matt Carl-Henny from Steve Freeman, Angus Archer, Julian Morris, Carl Hazelton, John Tordoff, Scott Adams, Natalie McGloin and Glenn Broster completing the grid. Glenn not getting a lap time in qualifying, so expect him to come through in his Class 1 machine. Ready for the start, red lights out, and like the proverbial off the shovel, Pete Morris very quick indeed. Chris Dyer is on the grass, manages to rejoin, but Pete Morris was very, very, very quick indeed. Jake McAleer looks round the outside, there's some jostling position into Redgate. Got a car starting from pit lane. Ross Morris is currently around the outside line of 45. Paul Seagrave in car with 48 Toby Barlow. So Toby getting stuck in. There's won his class in races a couple of times this year, and Toby running 3rd in the championship for Class 2. A great start. Pete Morris, I was going to speculate that Morris was quick because they have taken a little bit of weight out of the 996s and 997s to try and match the Caymans. To obviously what the organisers want is different models in the racing, and the Caymans have had a super year, and with weight coming out, I suppose there are some that might argue that the good drivers of the Caymans have been punished for having the weight taken out. But I applaud any move by the championship organisers to make things level, and it seems to be working, doesn't it? Because we've got the championship leader busy chasing at the moment, Simon Clark chasing Pete Morris with Mike Price the pole man in 3rd place. Kevin Harrison up ahead there of Jake McAleer, and then busy chasing him is Andy Toon in the number 4 car. We've got Class 3 driver Julian Morris out. We've got 3 Class 3 drivers in this one. Scott Adams in the Porsche Centre Cardiff car, and John Tordoff in the Leeds machine out there. And also, as you heard, Carl Hazelton, who is actually running in Class 2 with slicks on the car, and as we mentioned him, he pops into screen, so good to see Carl having a run. And Jake McAleer up ahead of Chris Dyer. Very unusual to not have Mark McAleer on the grid. I tried to look back through the various results that I've collated over the years, and I can't see when we last didn't have Mark at a meeting. Certainly looked 2 or 3 years back as Natalie McGloin engages in battle with the number 70 Class 2 car of Angus Archer. There's some great battles going on all the way down the field. A quick reminder that pole position in Class 2 went to James Coleman from Toby Barlow. Those two looking to try and move up the order. It's Kevin Molyneux 2nd in class at the moment from Ross Morris. Now, I've done some points calculations. There is the poleman James Coleman. The points that you saw at the end of our last programme reflected the total points scored, because the organisers don't release anything with drop scores, and it's understandable because we actually don't know how many points are going to be scored over the last couple of races, and I'll come on to how the points are scored or added up, as it were, for each race, and it's not just a straightforward score that we have from each race. So as a result, although I reckon we are going to have both of our class champions virtually confirmed here, everything is provisional until all the tech checks are done, so we probably won't call a champion. And Michael Price is out. Mike Price, the pole position man, no luck for the number 7 car once again. A 3rd retirement of the year. Disappointment for Mike, only his 5th start of the season. Michael Price out of the race. Oh, that's a shame, because Mike's a great guy, quick driver, lovely, beautifully prepared car. Glenn Broster making progress there in the number 15 996. And look at this race we've got between Jake McAleer. Kevin Harrison's got away from him, and then 3-time winner this year, Chris Dyer, in the number 9 Cayman. His first 3 outright wins coming this year. It was a long-term exponent of Class 2, as you'll be aware. Simon Clark still trying to hunt down Pete Morris. Pete trying to keep himself in the points. And I'll come on to points a little bit later on when the race settles down a tad more. So, loads going on. Natalie McGloin still enjoying her race with Carl Hazelton, Porsche Centre Chester Class 2 car. And Natalie working hard. Marshall's attending to Mike Price's car. Fair old bit of kit to push, and it is an uphill task there. You can see for the 2 Marshalls just out of shot when we go back in. There they are working hard. We're looking at the race, as you can fully expect. Craig Wilkins goes through in the number 11. Craig qualifying in 6th position here. And partial season for Craig Wilkins, so not in contention for the championship, which the points in Class 1, Clark, or positions in Class 1, Simon Clark, Pete Morris, Chris Dyer, Jake McAleer 4th, Mark McAleer in 5th. Andy Toon will probably overtake Mark McAleer in the standings to go 5th this weekend. Andy, of course, part of the Strasser team who are leading the Teams Championship, which we'll be keeping an eye on as well. County Classics 2nd, Simon Clark, Kevin Harrison and Mike Price. Won't be doing Mike's retirement, not doing County Classics any favours in the teams. And then RVR, which is the 2 McAleers, and Steve Freeman are in 3rd place in the Teams Championship. Brief look there at the Warsteiner gold livery of John Tordoff. Trofeo cars with James Cayley and Alistair Isles currently 4th in the Teams Championship. So there's always plenty of interest in the Club Championship, whether it's the individual drivers, the overall championship, the class championships and the team championship. So much to watch. There is Angus Archer, regular podium finisher in Class 2, moved across a while ago from the BRSCC Porsche Championship, and that is Chris Dyer taking a spin. It's a half spin, but gets on the gas maybe a little bit too early, winds up facing the wrong way. So Chris Dyer, it's not going to be an overall win here. We've got a bit of bodywork on the track, which a brave Marshall is going to have to maybe get at some stage. I'm not sure whose bumper that is, but a little bit of drama already in the first half of our opening of 2 races here at Donington Park. Out front, dealing with a bit of traffic, Pete Morris has got a wee bit of a lead at the moment over Simon Clark. Remember, Morris won here at Donington Park, the opening race. That's a little bit of deja vu. Pete Morris winning or leading the opening race here at Donington Park. I won't say winning because the curse of the commentator will often strike, but it's Simon Clark in 2nd place and 3rd position. Look at the pair of Martini liveries, they look really spectacular coming down together. And it is Carl Hazelton who's about to be passed by Toby Barlow. That really did look cool coming down the main straight. So back with Kevin Harrison running at the moment in 3rd place. Jake McAleer has actually closed in on the lead trio. There was a little bit of a gap which opened up between Harrison and Jake McAleer, but Jake's getting a move on. He has got the fastest lap of the race as well. Kevin Harrison gets sideways going into the chicane, loses 3rd position. Jake McAleer is up on for a podium. Now something broken on Kevin's car to cause that. He is prone. We've got Mike Price's prone car as well at the back of shot there. So we really are getting some big hitters suffering retirements in this race, which is not good to see as we watch Toby Barlow busy chasing to try and get up towards a podium position. Kevin Harrison has got his car going and will come down into pit lane. I think that's going to be another retirement, sadly, for Kevin Harrison in the number 16 car. Double winner at our 2nd Brands Hatch meeting. We have been very Brands Hatch heavy this year, and indeed Donington heavy, with two outings at Donington, 3 events, or 2 events, 3 rounds as it were, at Brands Hatch. There is Paul Seagrave, who is running well. Paul now in Class 1, and really good to see Paul running in Class 1 this weekend, having been up near podium pace in Class 2. and Paul working hard, as is Simon Clark, trying to close down on Peter Morris. So at the moment, with these two very evenly matched, the gap on drop scores by my mathematics coming into this race was 39 points. Now for reasons, and through on the inside line of Kevin Molyneux goes Toby Barlow, but Toby runs a little bit wide. Molyneux's going to nip back. Toby gets back on track but loses a fair amount of ground there. Meanwhile, Pete Morris trying to break away from Simon Clark. So it's the 997. Remember, Peter was the first driver to win outright in the 997. So really coming into that car, taking that car on as a project, if you like, in the championship was a brave thing to do. We've seen Mike Price runs 997 as well. James Cayley, Mark McAleer, who's not racing this weekend, sadly, as we heard. But those guys developing the car within the confines of the championship. Matt Carr-Henny making a move there as well. And he's coming through, about to pass Natalie McGloin. There is our leader in Class 2, James Coleman, who has had a great season, late joiner into the championship, James Coleman, but running well. This the battle for the lead though. Pete Morris is under pressure from Simon Clark. I'll go back to the point scenario. No, I won't, because out of the race very sadly goes James Cayley. So no points for him for Trofeo Cars. It's disappointing, and Alistair Isles not racing with us this weekend, so they're not going to be able to close in on RVR in the third, or for the third place position in the team's championship. Across the line goes Glenn Broster. Glenn has climbed up through the field very well indeed. Through goes Andy Toon on the inside line of Steve Freeman. Steve Freeman dropping a lap. He's running in sixth position at the moment in Class 2, Steve Freeman. Pete Morris has started to eke out a little bit of a gap over Simon Clark. Here is our Class 2 leader. James Coleman still there. Now the gap in Class 2 on drop scores by my mathematics, 57 points between Ross Morris and Kevin Molyneux. Kevin running third in class at the moment, and really and truly with the amount of points available, there will not be 57 points available in race 2. So Ross Morris finishing ahead here of Kevin Molyneux will be enough to provisionally secure him the Class 2 title. But I understand and respect the fact that the organisers won't declare that kind of information formally until the end of race 2. And the reason for that is because there are a lot of issues points wise that they have to work out. The point structure obviously primarily based on the position in the race, 25 points for a win, 21 for second and so on. But then there's extra points. Pole position gets a point, fastest lap gets a point, getting your entry form in on time gains a point. Then we have additional points for the number of starters in each class, bonus points for up to 10 starters, so an extra 10 bonus points, and that's so that the overall championship winner is the driver. Oh, problems there for Paul Seagrave. Has a spin, hopefully nobody will collect him and he'll get going again. So going back to the points, if there are less than 10 starters in a class, you get less points for winning the class, which is fair, and therefore if you've beaten more drivers you've got more chance of winning the overall championship. So that's the logic there. And then finally there's another bonus point which goes out for a car being presented to the race with no damage, and that is a really good idea, but it also means that we really can't sort of confirm the overall totting up of the points until after the race, because they have to collate all that information. But at the moment it does look 39 points was the drop score gap by my maths coming into this race. I don't think anyone will get 39 points in race 2, so Simon Clark is going to be on his way to the championship here, even though Pete Morris has taken a couple of points out of him by leading and winning this race. Ross Morris provisionally should wrap up Class 2, but then we're going to be looking to the overall championship. There is Glenn Broster, super drive through. He is well inside the top 10 overall from the very back of the grid. James Coleman in the top 10 as well, the leader of Class 2. Ross Morris running second in class at the moment. Andy Toon in the number 4, running in 5th place. So this is the battle for 5th between Andy Toon and Glenn Broster. We've had a lot to talk about here with all of the various championship scenarios going on. Matt Kyle Henny goes through as well. Simon Clark I think here is, as much as anything, I'm not saying he could have beaten Pete Morris here, but he will be thinking about championship points and won't want the DNF, which Peter Morris was talking about in the pre-race interviews with Andy. So across the line there will go Kevin Molyneux, battling for a podium position in Class 2, and we have had some great racing in Class 2 once again, but it's Pete Morris with a little bit more of a gap now. Matt Kyle Henney is next up. He is running 5th in Class 2, then Jake McAleer, as Pete Morris takes the win. Pete Morris' second win of the season. Simon Clark takes 2nd place. 3rd position will go to Jake McAleer from Craig Wilkins. And some more battling going on down the order. We're watching the number 3 of Ross Morris, who is there up ahead of Kevin Molyneux, dicing for podium positions in Class 2. But the overall race winner was Pistol Pete with that start, or Podium Pete, top of the podium in this particular race. And don't forget, we've got Class 3 runners as well, and the Class 3 runners headed by Scott Adams. But here is our Class 2 winner, and it's going to be another win for James Coleman, who comes across the line now. James is in 5th position in the championship and goes across the line to take the Class 2 win. 2nd in class will be Ross Morris from Kevin Molyneux. Those two relatively close together, and they're followed by Toby Barlow. So 2nd, 3rd and 4th in Class 2, all very much together. So good close stuff from the Boxster boys as they cross the line to finish the first race here at Donington. Here's the result. Pete Morris winning from Simon Clark and Jake McAleer. Craig Wilkins 4th from Andy Toon and Glenn Broster. Chris Dyer next up from James Coleman, the Class 2 winner. Ross Morris, Kevin Molyneux in 10th from Toby Barlow and Del Brett. Matt Kyle Henney ahead of Paul Seagrave and Steve Freeman. Carl Hazelton next from Natalie McGloin. Class 3 won by Scott Adams from John Tordoff.
Pete Morris, well done. Race victory in the first race at Donington Park. You go well here, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, we started the championship here and I got a 1st and a 6th. Tyres went off in the second round. I've been trying to save the tyres back for the second race for this afternoon. A 1st is great. It flags to victory. So yeah, hopefully the tyres will keep in for me.
Simon Clark, well done. 2nd place in the first race, and that really was what you had to do, wasn't it? Stay out of trouble and get a podium.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a temptation to have a nibble at Pete here and there. A very big temptation, actually. Had a couple of light goes, but yeah, great. Like really good result. I'm really pleased with the start. Actually, I was quite proud of that because Cayman's generally not as good as get off the line as a 911, but seemed to go well today. So yeah, good.
Jake, well done. 3rd place in race 1 at Donington Park. A feisty race there, though, for you. You were right in the thick of it right from the start to the end, really.
Yeah, well, you summed it up pretty well, actually. I was in the middle of everything pretty much from the get-go. Didn't get a bad start, but just got pushed out wide a bit at Redgate. And for the first 5 minutes, I struggled, really struggled with the car. Just nothing was happening for me, and obviously got overtaken by 1 or 2 cars then, and then all of a sudden the car just came alive, and tried to make my way back through, and I think we genuinely had the pace to win that race. Just little incidents kept cropping up and denying us. So on the Oral I had a huge moment as well, which dropped me from quite close to Simon Clark to nowhere near. So yeah, it's one of those.
James, well done. Another race victory in Class 2, I believe about your 5th now of the year. In a league of your own this weekend to an extent, about 7/10 quicker in qualifying, and you just raced away in the race.
I think qualifying, I just gave myself enough room. I think that accounts for that. And I know Toby was 2 or 3 tenths behind me in race pace, so no, not really. Just where I was on track, I got out in front. Sorry, Kevin got out in front again. Managed to get past him on lap 1 and just gapped them really. So I wasn't battling anyone, so I could just be consistent with my lap times while they were slowing each other down behind.
Ross Morris, 2nd place in Class 2 in that race. It was a reasonably lonely race until the last few laps.
I didn't think I was going to go anywhere that race. Lonely in 4th, and the tyres were well off, the brakes were going. All of a sudden those pair were squabbling and started falling back, so I thought, I could get a good run on them here. So I think it was the last lap, well, it might have even been the lap before, but I got a good run off the chicane, got Toby, and then I got Kevin down the craners. So yeah, he left me just enough room, so I did it.
Kevin, congratulations, third place in race one, but it was a lively end to the race, wasn't it?
Oh mate, it was really good in the end, yeah. Me, Toby and Ross had a good little battle at the end, but Ross battled his way through and made it through, but it was a good greasy, to be honest, so we all got caught a few times, but great race.
Well, the race one victory in Class 3 goes to Scott Adams then, and Scott, you overturned a deficit in qualifying. John was quicker than you in qualifying, but you actually were nearly 10 seconds up the road by the end of the race. Well done.
Yeah, I'm fortunate for Johnny spun, and we got going all right after obviously missing him, and yeah, just managed the gap then, and that was it, yeah, race victory.
Well, John, congratulations, your first podium in Class 3 this season here at Donington Park. A solid race for you there all round.
Yeah, I'm gutted I didn't come first actually, but on the first lap the guy in front of me went off and he ended up in the gravel and I ended up having to go in the gravel to avoid him. I managed to get out, he didn't, but by the time I got out there was like half the straight behind everybody. So, but no, it was just steady away and it was really enjoyable, and so hopefully we go one step bit further up the podium on the second race.
Well, Mike, we spoke to you a couple of hours ago and there were high hopes for a good result in that first race. Didn't quite go to plan, did it?
Unfortunately not, no. The start was a little bit better. It's been my Achilles heel this season, so I lost a couple of places, but in the process of defending from any more, there was a bit of contact in there. Not particularly unusual turn one in this series, but I think a bit of rear wheel impact probably contributed towards the failure of the drive shaft, or certainly the outer joint of the drive shaft. So found a replacement in the paddock, and they're going to be working on it. So it looks good to be back on the grid, front row start, P2 for that, see what we can do. I'll be well revved up for it.
Well, coming into this weekend, the Donington Decider, Strata Racing were already, I think, provisionally crowned as the team's champions. I've got Paul and Lindsay here from the team with me now. It's been a fantastic year, hasn't it, Paul, for the team on the whole, the drivers individually. Everything's gone more or less to plan, really, hasn't it?
It has. It's been a great season once again. You know, the drivers have performed well, the team's performed well, and I think that's why we won the Drivers' Championship, because we work together. And it's more like a family than a team as well. And this is the second year on the running, and we've won the team championship. And I think prior to that, did we win it 3 times in a row? We missed a year, but then so that's it's testament to the team and what we can do and what we can achieve. So it's been a fantastic year, yeah, really.
One thing that's always struck me from working with the guys and chatting to them between races is the friendly atmosphere around the team. It is like a family. I think Paul summed it up nicely, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. We try and create an environment where everybody wants to join in. So the drivers, their families, their friends, because what we want to do is promote this whole championship as a really friendly and really accessible championship. You know, you don't need to be into the thousands of pounds to do it, and it's a friendly paddock, it's a friendly grid. As a team, we just have a great time.
Well, I'm with Glenn Broster now, who was our driver of the race after race one earlier on. You started at the back of the grid, came home 6th. First of all, why were you at the back of the grid? What happened in qualifying?
Well, we had brake issues. It turns out it was a brake sensor. It was given a faulty reading, so when we pressed the brake, it actually throttled the car up. There was no throttle whatsoever, so we thought we'd fixed it, went out, it turns out we had no brake lights. So I've had my wrist slapped, hopefully it's repaired. It's just past scrutineering again, so we're good to go.
Well, as you can see behind me, the cars are leaving the assembly area ahead of the final race of the 2019 season. Pete Morris is on pole position, but Mike Price, with a fixed-up car, is lining up alongside him, looking to try and get another race victory. Back in Class 2, it's James Coleman on pole position, with Ross Morris needing a win as a bare minimum to keep his title hopes alive. Richard, for the final time this year, it's over to you.
Thanks, Andy, and for great work keeping us up to speed with the goings-on in the paddock. Pete Morris on pole, with Michael Price alongside. Jake McAleer and Simon Clark are next up in Class 1. Class 2 headed by James Coleman and Toby Barlow. Ross Morris and Kevin Molyneux 3rd and 4th respectively. And Class 3 headed by John Tordoff, once again from Scott Adams. Scott did get the fastest lap as well in Class 3 in race number 1. Poor old Glenn Broster, driver of the race in race 1, has got to do it all again from 25th on the grid to see if he can get up in towards the top 6 again. Pete Morris very quick, Mike Price again struggling, as you heard him say in the interviews with Andy. but it's Mike Price getting overtaken by Simon Clark. Jake McAleer on the inside. McAleer goes up into second. Price is third. Simon Clark couldn't quite get the big burn up round the outside and get in amongst the podium positions at the moment, but it's a long race, remember, so time for them to sort themselves out. And Simon Clark was wide there as he came through Hollywood, and he's on the grass. The champion-elect is on the grass. The only thing that really means is it'll be a drop score for him. Hopefully we'll get going again, but major drama at the start of the last race, round 14 of the season, and Simon Clark is not going to go out with a win, even though he might come away with the championship. So we'll watch and see how things unfold. Ross Morris still in the mix there, as you can see, and should take the Class 2 championship. There is Del Brett in the 997. Del's had 2 outright top 10s. Mike Price now back up ahead of Jake McAleer as they come through the chicane to complete the lap, but Peter Morris is away and out front. Glenn Broster already busy clearing cars and working his way through the Class 2s. Kevin Molyneux, the next target, the podium man in Class 2 in the previous race. Jake McAleer, who had the fastest lap in race 1, it was Jake for Class 1, James Coleman Class 2, Scott Adams in Class 3 taking the fastest laps. Carl Hazelton coming under pressure. There is John Tordoff, and John busy again chasing Scott Adams in the 55, the silver, grey and gold cars 1 and 2 in the Class 3s, and immediately behind them you saw the light blue and white car of champion-elect Simon Clark. Simon's only had 1 retirement so far, round 10 of the championship. Pete Morris has not had any retirements at all. Oh, I shouldn't say that, should I really? Has Simon Clark really getting stuck in? He'll get his track time value for money here with having to pass some traffic. Normally he has to come up upon the Class 3s, if they're in the race of course, and some Class 2s later on in the event, but getting traffic earlier than he would have otherwise normally expected. McAleer third, then Chris Dyer, Craig Wilkins in the number 11. Chris Dyer is actually the most experienced Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Racing with Pirelli driver in the field. Has 190 career starts in the championship, most of which were in Class 2. Here is Simon Clark. Simon working hard. Relative newcomer compared to the rest of them, Simon Clark. This is Simon's 30th start by my reckoning in the championship. Mark McAleer, the driver with the most career starts, 206. Pete Morris is third on 164, having taken 37 career wins, 90 podia, 36 class wins, as Glenn Broster continues to make progress through the field as well. Chris Dyer, 3 outright wins, 12 podia, 24 class wins out of his illustrious career in the championship. And Kevin Harrison there in the number 16, 5-time winner, 34 podia, 121 starts including this one for Kevin Harrison, as Michael Price now showing the pace that he had outright in qualifying, getting on the case of Pete Morris's Michael Price. So a good battle on for the lead. Out of the chicane they go. Kevin Harrison giving chase as well. It is such a very competitive field. The quality of the drivers in Class 1 are really and truly, I mean, if you look at the stats will tell you everything, that most of the drivers at the sharp end of the field have won races, and if they haven't, you would say that they are capable of taking race wins. Saw very briefly there, Glenn Broster has now cleared James Coleman. Here's the battle for the Class 3s. Remember, the Resta Racing, the classic Resta Racing cars, had their own separate championship this year, but do get to share the grid from time to time with the Class 1 and Class 2s. And although their championship was wrapped up at Alton Park in favour of Ben McLaughlin, a couple of the drivers still electing to come out, and as we heard, Carl Hazelton bolting slicks on going up into Class 2. This is the battle for the lead though. Pete Morris being harried here by Michael Price. Jake McAleer, who's fastest in race 1, showing a good turn of speed. And look at all the leaders together. This is a fine sight here in the championship. Price all over the back of Morris at the moment. Pete would love to go away from his home circuit with a double win, but Mike Price wants it. Jake McAleer wants to show his dad what he can do. It'll be weird for Mark to be watching this now as Price goes wide. He's going to go for the run round the outside line. Can he draw level? They're side by side. Team champion Pete Morris, the Strasser team in front still. Michael Price has a look, goes wide again. Morris giving him room, which is absolutely fair. Kevin Harrison in 4th place. Down through the Craner curves they go once again, and it is still Pete Morris out front. Jake McAleer still there. Chris Dyer in 4th. Kevin Harrison in 5th place. Simon Clark ahead of this group. There is Steve Freeman, and then Matt Kyle Henney. Matt's been a great addition to the championship this year, and I think might be moving on to the new Carrera Cup championship, or the Cayman Championship, which is coming, being set as somewhere between the Porsche Club Championship and Carrera Cup for next year, and we'll make some British Touring Car Championship weekend appearances. As Michael Price looks down the inside line, Price going for the lead. Is there a gap? Pete's hard on the brakes. I thought that could end in tears, but they both managed to sort it out. They're seasoned racers, they know what they're doing. And Mike Price now, though, coming off the gas, loses momentum, and Jake McAleer's all over him. Looks one way, then goes to the inside, back to the outside line for Jake McAleer, who'll be looking to carry speed down through the Craners. Meanwhile, we've got the Class 2s at the other end of the Wheatcroft straight, coming through on the inside line of Delbrett goes Ross Morris. Delbrett, remember, is in Class 1, so that's a big scalp there for Ross Morris to go through. Goodness me, all close stuff here at the moment. Getting involved now, Kevin Molyneux needs to try and clear Delbrett to get on the back end of Toby Barlow in the Martini livery 48. Here's the battle between the two Class 3s, very evenly matched. That's what Class 3 Classic Resto racing is all about, keeping it even. The organisers do that with respect to Class 1 and Class 2 again, as now we see Mike Price has got back. He touched out and hooked up with Pete Morris, and they're both off the track. It was close. It was more than close. They tag each other. It looked like they couldn't get unhooked. And Morris and Price, the top two drivers from qualifying, are out of the race and on the grass. Morris's double hopes go. Mike Price's hope of victory goes. And that means that Jake McAleer will lead the race now. McAleer in front here at Donington Park. Major drama. Jake McAleer then. Now the race leader, Kevin Harrison, is set at 3rd place. Is Andy Toon. Andy Toon here could be on for a first career outright podium. So Andy Toon, inheriting it or otherwise, a great drive from him. There is the race leader in Class 2, James Coleman, still there at the moment. And just trying to work out the ramifications for the championship. Pete Morris will... What did I say about Pete Morris not having a Pete, I'm so sorry. I said that he hadn't had a retirement all year. I thought he was going to go through the whole season without a retirement. He and Mike Price. And a gyration into the gravel there for Glenn Broster. Front end off. Glenn Broster chasing through the field. And he's off the circuit. Just as we were talking about the first two retirees, we get a 3rd from Class 1. Well, they've made it back into pit lane. It'll be very interesting to hear what they have to say about the incident, but of course we'll be talking to race winners and championship winners, as Chris Dyer in the Cayman, busy chasing. Hard lines Glenn Broster, super drive in race 1, working hard again in race 2 to come through the field, but it winds up with retirement very, very sadly, as James Coleman will continue on his way. Had a great winning run, James Coleman, remember, 3 class wins on the bounce on his debut in the championship before a DNF in race 2 at a 3rd meeting at Brands Hatch. It was day 2 of the 2-dayer brought in to replace the missing Silverstone Grand Prix circuits weekend. Really did shake up a number of championships, Silverstone's late decision to resurface their track. It needed to be done, and you know, fair play to them for doing it, but maybe the organisation could think about the ramifications of upsetting
everything at club racing, because club racing feeds in such a big way into the bigger picture of motor racing. And a lot of clubs really missed out on losing big meetings. Silverstone is always a big meeting for whoever goes there, so enough comment probably on that from me. I've said enough this season about it, but anyway, we've all survived the season, which is the key thing. As we watch the 48 car, Toby Barlow is running well and in podium position at the moment, as is Ross Morris. Ross will be provisionally Class 2 champion. Kevin Molyneux, I think, will be the silver medal position for Class 2 as we're into the final few laps of this season. And James Coleman is going to, I think, sneak up into the bronze medal position, which, considering James didn't join us till round 5 of the championship, incredible performance for him. You can effectively write off 2 races through drop scores, but he's overcome more than that as well. Good to see Kevin Harrison chasing hard. Here is the battle between Andy Toon, the 2 Strasser machines. Andy Toon up ahead of Chris Dyer, even without Pete Morris. Team Strasser still picking up some good points in the race. Jake McAleer, though, is out front. Fastest lap again for Jake. I hope that Dad Mark McAleer isn't thinking of hanging up his overalls. All good as Jake is, it's lovely to see the pair of them on track, and I think there's plenty more wins to come from Mark McAleer in the championship, but Jake proving that it's very much in the genes for the McAleer family. There is Matt's Kyle Henney, who is down behind. I mentioned the top 3 in Class 2. Toby Barlow next from Steve Freeman in the championship, then Matt Kyle Henney. A bit of traffic now to deal with for the race leader. Angus Archer up ahead of John Tordoff. John clearly enjoying his racing, and who knows, we might see a few more runs with the Class 2 cars, Class 3 Resta Racing classic liveried cars with the where they have standalone rounds next year. So it'd be good to see the 3 different classes, and when you have all 3 classes on track, it does highlight for the spectators at the track. It's down on the inside line of Angus Archer goes the race leader. Kevin Harrison still second. Chris Dyer still very close indeed to third place man Andy Toon, but Andy looking relatively comfortable. There is Ross Morris in car number 3, running second in Class 2. Jake McAleer past the Class 3 leader, which is Scott Adams, and there is the Class 2 leader, the 47 car of James Coleman, on his way to another win. Julian Morris is still running in this one as well. Julian in a car that we're familiar with from Class 3, but actually running in Class 2 today. And I'll go back to the point that I started to make, which was that when you've got all 3 classes together, Class 1 and 2 generally run together anyway, as you know, but when we see the Class 3 cars, it gives everybody a good idea of the ladder of opportunity here, that you can start in Class 3, move into Class 2, and then ultimately into Class 1, where we're looking at the race leader, Jake McAleer, who's pulled a little bit of a gap now on Kevin Harrison. Still in third place, Andy Toon. Chris Dyer is looking racy here, though, in the Cayman as they go on to the last lap, and pulls to the outside line. Andy Toon looking for his first outright podium, and a good battle on for third place. Let's have a look at how that pans out now. Chris Dyer goes deep into the corner and gets his nose in front, but was there contact as he came across the front of Andy Toon? Well, he'd got his nose in front. There might have been contact. He was very tight onto Andy Toon's car as they went round Redgate, but it is Jake McAleer out front. There is the second place man, Kevin Harrison. Kevin will wind up behind Mark McAleer in the championship. Andy Toon is going to pass Mark McAleer in the championship standings, I think, to take 5th position. So Chris Dyer gets going again, and Chris is still in 4th place, so he hasn't actually lost a place aside from the fact that he got his nose in front of Andy Toon in the number 4 car. That's the number 3 Strasser car of Ross Morris, set to confirm 2nd place overall in the championship and the win in Class 2. But Jake McAleer is coming through. Jake will be 4th overall in the championship and will take another win ahead of Kevin Harrison as they come out of the chicane.
And the season is complete for him. It is another win for Jake McAleer. Kevin Harrison finishes with P2, third position, a first podium for Andy Toon. Congratulations to him. Our Class 3 runners coming through as well. And it's Scott Adams who's won Class 3. Meanwhile, Class 2, once again headed by James Coleman, who's going to make it a double in Class 2. A super season for him, and he will no doubt, and I hope, be back for next year to gun for Class 2 honours and maybe even the overall championship. Ross Morris second in Class 2, wraps up the championship, and then third position in Class 2 will go the way of Toby Barlow in the Martini livery car that we just saw. Confirmation of the result. Jake McAleer wins from Kevin Harrison and Andy Toon. Chris Dyer fourth, good recovery. Frank Wilkins fifth from Simon Clark, the new champion. Then James Coleman winning Class 2 from Ross Morris and Toby Barlow. Del Brett, Kevin Molyneux, Matt Carl-Henny 12th, Paul Seagrave, Angus Archer, Steve Freeman, Julian Morris, Carl Hazelton, Class 3 winner Scott Adams and John Tordoff.
Jake, congratulations, a second race victory of 2019, and what a time to do it, what a way to do it as well, rather a dramatic race that one.
Yeah, it was certainly a lot of action in that race. I'm just over the moon, to get my second win at the end of the season. We've had a lot of bad luck this year, none of it really our own fault, so we've come here, we've got 2 podiums, and it's a nice way to finich.
It was a lively race, I think it's fair to say, and you were able to pick your way through it, but that's part of it, isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially when you get among the back markers, but Morris and Mike were battling hard, and we were just waiting for it to happen. I just sat behind Jake and I thought, well, something's going to happen soon, and it did. So we picked the pieces up and ran with it.
Frenetic race at times, and you were a bit fortuitous on some occasions, but some good battling along the way as well.
Had some good battles, yeah. To be fair, it's been a long time coming. I think gradually over the course of this season, we've just increased the pace and managed to sort of keep with the front runners. I've been really happy. And yeah, just keep your head, and we did a couple of nice moves on some people, but it's so close between all of us out there that really you're all running and just looking for the next opportunity and trying to put people under pressure.
Well, James, again, a race victory. We're getting rather used to this, aren't we? It's been a fantastic season. Once you did join the championship, there's been no stopping you.
Yeah, it's been really good. Car's been solid all season. We've had Alton Park, we had a few minor issues, but apart from that, it's been really consistent. Our worst finish has been the second place, so I can't moan at that at all.
Well, Ross, congratulations. We can now provisionally at least call you the champion in Class 2, and second place we think as well in the overall points. A great season all round and a nice way to end it as well.
Yeah, it's been a good year. I've managed to get 5 wins this year. I never got a win before this year, so I'm pleased with that.
The pace in that second race seemed a bit stronger as well. In race 1 you were kind of hanging on with the podium runners. This time you were solidly up there all race.
Yeah, I changed tyres. The tyres I qualified on came off for race 1, and a pair of older tyres went back on, and they were just useless. So I decided to go back to the qualifying tyres, and they seemed great all race. Just the brakes going off towards the end holding me back.
Well, Toby, congratulations. Another podium here to add to your list throughout the season. Not bad, considering you weren't here at the start of the year, were you?
No, it's great. Really dream first season, to be honest with you. Half a season or whatever it was. But racing's been so close, so fair. Everyone's been fantastic and so friendly. Great championship to be part of.
After the event, Simon Clark's car was found to have a technical infringement. No points for him here. Therefore, Pete Morris wins the Class 1 championship ahead of Chris Dyer, with Jake McAleer next from Simon Clark, then Andy Toon and Mark McAleer. On to Class 2, Ross Morris champion from Kevin Molyneux in second place, then James Coleman. Toby Barlow in 5th place ahead of Steve Freeman. The overall championship was therefore won by Ross Morris from his dad, Pete in 2nd place, Chris Dyer in 3rd from Jake McAleer and Simon Clark. 6th was Kevin Molyneux from Andy Toon, then James Coleman, Toby Barlow and Mark McAleer wrapping up the top 10. A great season's racing from us here. Thanks very much for your company, and we look forward to you joining us once again in 2020. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.